Hey you all, Farmer Jesse here. I thought today I would sort of give you an overview of what our plan is for 2019. Because we're changing some things up, we're adding some things, subtracting a few things. We've changed our CSA up a little bit. We've also got a really exciting project in the works. So, let's do it. All right, real quick before we get into it, two things. At the end of this video, we've just started our tomatoes and stuff, so at the end of this video, I'm gonna tack on just a short, I think it's probably about 90 second, because that's about how long it takes me to do a tray, is about 90 seconds. There's gonna be a 90-second-ish video I'm gonna tack on the end that just shows you how I make soil blocks. The reason I'm doing that is because I think that a lot of people, when they get the soil block makers, they get excited about it, but there's some nuance to it. There's like a little bit of technique involved. We've been making soil blocks for 10 years, and I thought I would just show you, literally you can watch how I do it. It doesn't take that long, and I'll kind of commentary over it so that you can get a feel for how it works. Also, last quick little thing, we have an election coming up in the United States. You are not gonna hear about it here. Not gonna talk politics at all. It's gonna invade every portion of our lives for the next 2 years, except this one. I've been keeping politics out of here, and I'm gonna continue to keep politics out of here. I'm not gonna tell you who to vote for, who not to vote for. I imagine if you're watching nerdy farm videos, that you probably are capable of making your own informed decision. So, I'm gonna leave that to you. No politics here. If you need to get away from it, come watch a nerdy farming video, like this one. All right, so the first kind of change in what we're doing in terms of like what we're growing is we are helping to open a pay-what-you-can restaurant in Versailles called Spark Community Cafe. Versailles is like it's actually spelled Versailles, but it's Versailles here in Kentucky, is a small town where my wife grew up. And I'll do a whole video about Spark later on. In fact, you'll probably just hear about it a lot. I'm helping to design the menu, so I actually get to take what I know about the food that I like, and also as my background in cooking, and apply those to this restaurant. In so doing, we've kind of been choosing a lot of our crops based on what we're gonna need for that restaurant, including some tomatoes for pizza sauce and for sun drying. I've selected specific kales and stuff that I want for kale pestos. But anyway, that's gonna change how we approach the farm because I'm actually getting to shape it kind of from the perspective of a restaurant. So that's super cool. We're also still doing the farmer's market though. So a lot of our midsummer plans are lettuce, green onions, beets, turnips, cherry tomatoes like crazy. I think we're starting over 200. So that's just the first round. So lots of cherry tomatoes and a fair amount of herbs. Those are kind of things that we're gonna be employing a lot at the farmer's market, and we're also gonna be using a lot of those for the restaurant. So I look forward to telling you all more about the restaurant, but we're also still doing our CSA. And I know that a lot of our customers love to watch these videos. So if you're a customer and you're watching this video, the CSA is live. So go check that out at roughdraftfarmstead.com. Click on the CSA tab. The CSA is a little different this year. We've shortened it to 10 weeks for the first spring-summer CSA. It's gonna be starting in April or at the very latest early May, and then it'll go basically until cherry tomatoes. And we'll give cherry tomatoes, a few red tomatoes, and then that'll be it. And then the rest of the summer, that's pretty much leaves July and August. Anyone who's been a part of our CSA to travel, to get all the farmer's market stuff at the farmer's market, get sweet corn and melons and all those things a little bit more cheaply than we can produce them, because they just take up a lot of fertility and a lot of space. So it's not economical for us to produce those crops. So that's kind of, we're cutting those crops out and letting that be something that the customer can get from the farmer's market. And then we'd probably pick it back up in the fall for sweet potato season, because that deserves its own season. It should be like spring, summer, fall, sweet potatoes, winter. Or we can just call fall and winter sweet potato season. I like that idea. There's a lot of crops we're actually not bothering with at all, including that we're gonna grow a little sweet corn for ourselves and a little broccoli and that sort of thing. But by and large, we're not really gonna grow those crops, at least not in the spring, because the spring is already jam-packed. We're trying to shrink our gardens a little bit and grow more food, but we can't grow more of the same stuff that doesn't make as much money, if that makes sense. We're still gonna have a really cool diversity for our CSA, but we're gonna drop a lot of crops. Eggplant is one. We're just not gonna bother with eggplant. The flea beetle issue is just a little bit too much for us, and we're hoping to reincorporate it, but it's just a really tender crop. Melons take up a lot of room. We're not going to grow those on a commercial scale. Not going to grow corn on a commercial scale, sweet corn or dent corn. We are still going to grow a few weird things though, and definitely off the beaten path crops. And we're going to grow a lot of celery. Celery is going to be a huge focus for us in 2019. A lot of carrots, a lot of celery. Like I said, those kind of main summer crops, those are 2 more that I would throw in there. And then yeah, just kind of back off of some of those really slow, really space and time and energy intensive crops, and focus on a lot of the crops that we do well with, that do well for our farm, that do well on our soil and under our management. It's really something that we've needed to do for a long time, and we just keep putting it off because we like growing all these crops, and we still are going to keep growing a big diversity of stuff while also backing off of some of the things that haven't worked as well for us. That said, we're not getting rid of all the big crops. We're still growing some amount of potatoes. We're still growing some, well, quite a few sweet potatoes. And celery is a 70 or 80 day crop, so it's not exactly like a fast, high profit crop. So there's gonna be a lot of little nuance changes, and of course the restaurant it's gonna be fun working with the chef, my buddy Isaiah. Shout out to him. Like I said, more about the restaurant later on, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. Another big change is that we're going full tilt, no till. Last year was our transition year, right? We kind of decided in June we were done with tillage at all, and we just stopped doing it, and we started transitioning all of our beds to no till. You know, the tunnels had been no till, but the fields, that was a different story. So now all of our fields, all the tunnels, everything this is gonna be the first year absolutely 100% no till. And I'm excited about it. There's gonna definitely be some learning curve there, but with the podcast and everything, I think I've got some really good information about, you know, things that went wrong last year in terms of just not feeling like I had the fertility before I had the cover. You know, you kind of need the fertility in the soil, and then you want to cover it up. You want the minerals and any of your sort of microbes and all that stuff. You want that in the soil before you cover it up. So I'm kind of adjusting that a little bit. And now that it's covered, I'm just gonna have to add it through compost. And I'm still gonna be doing a little bit of broad forking to help kind of just break up that soil, the soil compaction in a few places. But hopefully we're kind of working away from that, right? So that's kind of a big change, but not a surprising change, obviously, if you watch these videos. No, other than that, like I said, there's gonna be a little video tacked on the end about the soil blocking, just to show you exactly how I do it, how long it takes me, what my little techniques are. Take about 90 seconds, and you can kind of see how that works. We do use soil blocks for tomatoes and stuff still. Anything that's the 2-inch block or bigger that needs that, we like those soil blocks. They're just easier for us. So anyway, that's about it. Like this video if you like this video. Make sure to subscribe to all the things that we do. If you like it, sign up for the Patreon page. The Patreon page helps to keep the podcast and the videos and the website and all that good stuff going. Otherwise, I got a major winter storm coming. Can it be called a storm if it's really like just cold weather? So I'm gonna cover a bunch of stuff, but we're gonna make it through, right? Right? Right. All right. Thanks you all. See you later. Bye.
All right, what I have going on here that you can see is that I'm making a single tray of 2-inch soil blocks, and essentially, if you look at the way that the soil moves, you can tell how wet that whole thing is, and that's on purpose. You want it pretty wet so they slide out of the soil blocks slide out of the soil block maker faster. And if it's too wet, they'll just kind of turn into mud, so you want to add a little bit more soil mix. If it's too dry, you want to add a little bit more water, like it'll kind of just crumble if it's too dry. And that's why I have that bucket there too, because there's kind of a fine line. And if it's a little bit too dry but not so dry it's crumbling, I'll just use that bucket to sort of moisten the soil block maker as I grab new soil blocks. So it takes me about 1:20 to 1:30 seconds to do one tray of 2-inch blocks. It'll take a little longer for the 1.5-inch blocks, a little less time if you have the standing blockers. You can make a lot more at once. If you all have any questions about these, make sure to let me know. It's pretty straightforward, but you can just see how I'm doing it, using the side there to pack in that soil and then scraping off the excess and planting it into the tray. Not too crazy. All right, thanks you all.